So we're gonna do the full 3 hours of Sekiro Shimaro today. Um, what else? I updated to OBS 28, and because they have the NDI support, as I said I was going to. Didn't forget that. For some reason the audio is just scuffed still. Well, it's not scuffed because it does show it, but it's scuffed. It's freaking scuffed. Cause like I did like a test stream yesterday with all the settings and shit, and it was still fucked up. Cause it's I can hear like static in the background. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And yeah. Yeah. Damn, bro, lazy doesn't even want to run around. It's not being lazy, my god. She hurts. I'm just trying to freaking. I'm not trying to be in pain. The fuck. All right. All right. Why is there so many audio? What is what? Okay, I don't need Discord online, dude. I don't use that shit. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Oh Jesus. Alright, let me make sure everything's working. Okay, we're captured 60. I totally forgot to do the whole mod thing for 1 to 44. I went on frickin' Nexus Mods to check that shit out. And it looks like it's pretty simple to do, but... Oh, maybe I'll do that next stream, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. I mean, I feel like it should be worth it, because I want to get the full experience, but... Anyways, what's up, Bagel? What's poppin', dude? I'm assuming you can hear me. Can you hear the game sheet? Is it all freaking working? Please, for frick's sake, tell me it's working. Please, for frick's sake, tell me that sheet's working. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I kind of forgot the controls. Is this sheet F? Okay. Okay, I'm for something, please. I know we gotta get better at freaking dodging sheet. Turn my headset down a little bit. She's freaking loud as fuck. Where the frick are my audio controls? So they are. Alright. 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 Okay, what are we left doing? We killed the frickin' wolves. Is there a crouch? Yes, there's a guy for. I knew that. Okay. I'm gonna get up here real quick. Fuck, I forgot how much I like this game. Alright. I think we killed it. Oh yeah, I already got all the sheep for this. Oh, did we got the sheep? Okay, is there a sheet up there that I'm missing? Should I go check? Fuck yeah, I'm checking. Oh no, yeah, I got the sheet over here already. Wait, can I go with that? No, you cannot. Okay. With a shot. Oh yeah, with that there was guys over here. Then we got freaking absolutely clapped. Oh, that sheet. Freaking slap with these motherfuckers. Okay, can I get this guy again? Can you jump and assassinate? I kind of forgot. I think I flipped up a little bit. Sorry, they didn't freaking hear me. Freaking dumb. Wasn't there two guys? Is that guy sleeping? There's not a guy there. Beach. Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh god. What was that? Oh, that's new. A movie balloon filled with foundation water. If one pops the golden balloon in praise, those water splashes. Ooh. Maibu, Maibu, what the frick is that? Means aquatic life or life born from the water. That's pretty cool. Alright, frick it, let's get the whole squad in here. I can run that sheet. I can dodge this guy, frick it. What the fuck? There's a lot of homies here. There's a lot of homies here. Oh, Jesus. There's a lot of freaking homies here. Fuck on my goddamn game. Woo! I keep pressing space to dodge. These freaking Elden Ring. Oh god. Okay, I'm not really playing this too safe here. What's the thing? Who am I so far? Let's just aggro everybody. Why not? Woo! Damn it. Oh god. Oh god. What? I didn't get that beach? I keep pressing space to dodge. I need to stop playing. My mindset is still in Elden Ring. Oh yeah, I forgot I can resurrect. Beach. God. Damn. Alright. Shit. Okay, technically we didn't die yet, so. Alright. I love the freaking gore in this sheet. How's it going, Bagel? What's up, dude? Yeah, there's no shot. This is not here for a freaking reason. Oh, it's probably there to freaking sheet that we could. Haha, a little bit fell in that sheet. Just a smidge. Dude, I like how you can do that sheet mid-air. That's freaking sick. You alright? That's cool. What'd you do over the week? Wow, this week went by pretty freaking quick, not gonna lie. Alright, remember, I'm not missing sheep this time. I'm looting every freaking crevice. I'm checking all the sheep. Ah ha ha, what is this? I'm doing alright. This week was pretty alright. It went pretty quick. How do you do the? I forgot how to do the wall run thing above. Pretty sure that's a freaking move, right? Oh, I think I'm freaking missing shit now. Frick, get your ass out of here. Oh, forgot. I just died by a freaking chicken. I gotta stop dying, my guy. I'm freaking dying too much. See, now I ain't got none of that left. I'm freaking dying a lot, dude. What's the freaking pellets? That heals you, right? Jesus fucking shit. Alright. Not really doing too good here. Oh. 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 Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Give me that sheet. Oh, you have to... Oh. Are you friendly? Yes, you are.
Oh,
I knew that.
is that you, Inosuke? My son. Have you seen the young master?
I am not your son.
There you go again, Inosuke. You always tease that I'm getting senile, but a mother knows her own son. Well, anyway, take this bell. It's a charm I made with the young master in mind. Please, offer it to Buddha for his sake.
Buddha. Which one's Buddha? Is that the dude that don't tell me. That's the frickin' the guy in the building, right? Oh god, now I gotta remember all these names again. A bell charm received by an old woman who asked her to judge Buddha. Bell charms protect their holders through Buddha's divine protection. One finds themselves the owner. If one finds themselves the owner of another bell's charm, the Buddha half of the common courtesy. Give me a. Huh. Is there a frickin' thingamabob I can get right now?
Who is it? Is somebody there?
Yes.
That voice. No. Could it be? Sir, my name is Inosuke Nogami, a vassal of the Hirata family.
Oh.
Or at least I was. I ask a favor. Might you look in on the old lady in that house? She's my mother, but her mind is failing.
Yeah, I can tell.
She cannot tell one from another.
I met your mother. She gave me a bell.
She did she?
Oh, that's cool. It actually knows.
You have my thanks. That bell's troubled her for a long, long time. She kept muttering incoherently. Something about offering it to Buddha.
Alright. Press the wrong button.
Sir, the man from before, right? I wanted to thank you for humoring my mother. That bell's troubled her for a long... She kept muttering in...
I'll talk to her again just to make sure I'm on the listen sheet.
Inosuke, my son. Have you offered the bell charm to Buddha?
Hey, what's
Have
up,
you
Druid?
tried the rundown temple
I'll
with
toast to that. Heck
the
yeah.
altar in it? I'm sure you'll find Buddha there. Inosuke, have you tried the rundown temple with that stubborn skull? I'm sure
should I run back or should I actually find a thingamabob? Should I find the what's it called? Or should I just run back? We can do some parkour. You have the item in the inventory that allows you to teleport infinite uses. Oh yeah, that's the wrong button. What? For how do you open inventory? Oh yeah. What the frick is that? No. Okay, give me a second here. I had the number sheet. I've only been to one, right? How's it going, Druid? Oh, that's a pretty cool teleport. Does that reset the dudes, or is that only the what's it called? It's Buddha's this guy, right?
I can hear the ring.
This is okay. I don't know why I forgot your name.
You mean this old bell? An old woman asked me to offer it to Buddha.
That bell. Have you seen it before?
No, it is unfamiliar.
It appears the bell disagrees. I think it's trying to tell you something.
What?
Give it as an offering. The kind-faced Buddha near the wall is different from the Buddhas I make. It was carved by the hand of the true sculptor.
Oh, this is. Oh, I thought that corresponded to that.
No matter what I do, any incarnation of wrath. Thus is the fate of those who owe a deep karmic debt. You will understand when you try carving one for yourself one day. So, need something?
Have I already asked for all of this? No, I'm good.
If you want more forms for that fang of yours,
already asked for that
you'll
stuff.
need to search for more shinobi tools. There's no turning back from this path now. The least I can do is load your arm.
Is load your arm.
Notice anything different?
Yes.
Like what?
I
Yes.
died. The divine heir's voice reached out to me, and suddenly I was alive again.
So you died, and now you're alive again. So that means it has to do with resurrection.
Resurrection.
Lord Kuro. It's said to be a power of the divine heir's dragon heritage. Those who have been given the power of resurrection. They are revived upon death, repeatedly.
Impossible.
Yes, it is rather strange, and yet... And now, let me notice any more changes. The power of resurrection comes without a cost.
Well, I mean, I kind of know the.
I'm glad you've come, Master Wolf.
Casual streaming audio freezing? What, on this game? Wait, for real? Oh yeah, I forgot I got a seed.
Is this a gourd seed?
Yes. Bring it here. Plant the seed into the gourd. Perfect. Now the volume of medicinal waters in your gourd will increase.
Is it only this exact spot that can do it? Do I have to come back to this sheet every time? Like, even if I'm hella far in the game?
Such a strange medicine.
Is it strange? I don't take any offense to that. If it's effective, then that's cause for celebration, whether it's strange or not. That's what my mentor Dogen taught me.
I see.
Please bring me any other gourd seeds you find. I should be able to further increase the volume of the medicinal water.
Hell yeah. Frick, do I got another one? Oh.
This power, it comes from Lord Kuros. It's said to be a power of the divine heir's dragon heritage. Those who have been given the power
I
of
forget what
resurrection,
dialogue I've been through.
they are revived upon death, repeatedly. Let me know if you notice any more change. I don't... Oh? Did I hear the ringing of a chime?
It was probably this bell. I was told to offer it to Buddha.
Does the bell hold any significance for you? If it does, talk to the sculptor. He is quite knowledgeable when it comes to Buddha.
Well, I already talked to that beach.
I'm glad you've come. Oh? Did I...
I was
Does the... If it does... He is...
I already talked to that beach.
I've gone and said too much. Anyway, do what you will. Offer the bell to Buddha. Or don't. So, need something. Another time, then. I'll
Dang,
lend
you gotta
you
be so
shelter
freaking depressed, dude.
anytime.
Who the frick is Buddha again? I only know 3 people in this game so far, right? Is it the guy over here? I meant really want 2 people. It's a statue. Oh, it's that sheet in the freaking corner. Oh, I knew that. I knew that. I gotta get used to all these new sheets. My man's never seen a Buddha statue. Sorry.
Close your eyes. Hear the bell speak to you. The bell's chime will stir your thoughts and awaken old memories from their slumber.
Is this a long ass cutscene? I'm freaking done. Oh. So I'm living the freaking dream. The enhanced physical attributes option has been unlocked in the sculptor's idol. Hey, what's up, Sasha? What's up, dude? You can spend your prayer beads to create a prayer necklace, which will permanently increase your maximum vitality and posture. Okay. So wait, what is? Can I? English. What's up, man? Hope you're having a good Friday, homie. Hell yeah, man. I was gonna play Bone Lapse today, but I got a freaking good sized freaking heat rash on my thigh, and it's freaking painful, and I don't feel like moving around. I already moved around for 8 hours. But it's going good, man. It's going good. What the frick is this? Oh, oh, duh. Oh yeah, I had to freaking rest to get the thing up, right? Yeah. I still like that's cool how you can that. God damn, this looks cool. Pro tip, you can spam your parry to counter barrage attacks. Trust me, it helps. Fucking my man over here helping me out. Alright, sick. Thanks, my guy. When you played this game, did you play on the PC or just play on a console? Am I supposed to jump off the sheet? Cause I mean I'm freaking down, dude. Oh. I think I was supposed to go right here. Oh, maybe not. Imagine Nick listening to chat about advice. What do you mean? I play on console. I was gonna ask if the whole changing the max FPS thing was worth doing or not. Cause I found a mod that does it, but it also enhances more stuff. Like it automatically loots stuff, and I don't want to do all that. I just want the freaking FPS. I just want the frickin' FPS, man. I was 100% with it. Well, I landed on the tree and then what? That made sense. What does this do again? Oh yeah.
You're the son of Owl.
Oh, I forgot. I'm in a thing.
What happened?
Thieves
Forgot.
at Hero
We're in the thing.
Estate. You must hurry. The divine heir.
What year is it?
What year? An odd question.
Tell me.
It's the year of the Dragon Spring pilgrimage.
The Dragon Spring pilgrimage. That was 3 years ago.
I mean, I could
What
touch
is
that.
this? The sculptor mentioned an old memory. I don't remember any of this. But it appears this is the past.
Let's talk to him. Talks to himself in third person. I like it. What you got hiding back here? Oh. Can I go up this? Oh, we don't need to know what's up there. Ah, yeah, we do. No. Confirm we consume in this game. That's good to know. Definitely different than Elden Ring. God, I just spam space all the time. Just chill. God damn, it's freaking loud. If you run behind someone, does that make noise? Will they freaking we're gonna test this shit out. Come on, Beach. Oh, fuck you. Ah! Fuck, homeless coming in. When the jar breaks, the oil covers everything nearby. Enemies are easily set alight, causing them to take additional metallic damage. And okay, it's gonna be a interesting to remember all this sheet. Medicine machine burns heals the burn status anomaly and for a time decreases burn buildup, increasing resistance and reduces damage and burn attacks. Burn. When fire is used in the battlefield, that's the fire is good for survival. Okay. Am I gonna remember that? Probably not, dude. Oh look, my homie's dead. What am I gonna do? Oh no. Haha. I'm probably gonna run to his body and be like, oh my god, freaking died. Or just not give a sheet and walk up to it. Are you gonna kneel down the sheet? Ah! You guys ain't get the fuck out of my game, Beach. Oh, we're just gonna hide back here. Ah! Beach! I'm not the fucking dogs. Watch this, watch this. Whoa! Wait for. Ah! 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 I keep pressing space to freaking dodge. It's gonna be an ongoing problem for probably many hours. Just giving you guys a heads up. I gotta get rid of stuff on my freaking equipment bar, dude. I'm supposed to freaking. I did it again. Ah! I need to oh yeah. It's gonna be an ongoing problem, bro. So much for getting you out of the freaking way. Fuck you calling, Beach? Ah! 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 Jesus Christ! Fuck you calling? Nobody, Beach. Oh. Oh yeah, I forgot you mentioned that. Thanks, sir. Alright, let's see here. How do I want to play this here? Really? Where's the beach? Oh, okay. Can you, okay. There you go. Ah! I'm getting, I'm getting a little used to, that sheet. Yeah, we're getting used to it. I looked at the save point thing 10 times. Well, I knew about it. I wanted to kill the guy first. Hide and sheet. Whee! Okay. What the frick was that? Okay. Oh wait. God, this. Oh. Okay, I gotta get used to this sheet. Okay, I'm not doing that anymore. What the frick is this? Temper reduces. Oh, I think I've already gotten this. Wait, physical attacks. But the canteen take the stance to impair so you just. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna forget to use all this sheet. I already know I am. Oh, yeah, let's just freaking jump hella freaking high. Oh, you beats retreated. I don't know if I become invulnerable when I do that shit. I feel like I need to like respawn a bunch of times to get used to the combat and just fight enemies over and over again. I guess what it's gonna have to take. So I gotta make sure I'm pressing. Damn! Woo! Oh yeah, boy. Alright. I'm getting used to it. Slowly but surely. I'll get it down eventually. Thank you. Okay. Boost attack power for a time, but this can't take the stance. Okay, so attack power. Okay, so we got reduced physical damage. We got some other sheet. We got freaking attack power. Okay, there's a thing called maybe like, you know, going over it. Okay, there you go. Okay, what does this freaking door lead to? Okay. God, the movement in this game is okay. Guess we're not going that way. That was freaking loud. Oh. Oh, hey. Ah. How are you gonna freaking target someone that's across all the freaking thing right now? There's a lot of homies here. Okay, hold on. What kind of equipment stuff do I have again? Maybe I should use some of this. Can I just use it from here? Do I have to go to the freaking menu for that sheet? Frickin' just run this sheet. Frickin' run this sheet, dude. We're frickin' going full on right now, dude. Ah! 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 Bring it on, beach. Come on, Mochuckas. Bring that sheet on, boy. Ah! Oh. Oh. Freaking sneak attack in there. Beach. I think I can still take damage when I do that. Maybe I should not do that so often. Beach. What? Oh, I tried dodging it. Oh, you're do rapid fire. Okay. Well, that's good to know. God, I'm getting food up. How the frick did you not hear what happened? You didn't see all your homies die? How the frick are you still here? What the fuck? What the fuck is this? Oh, it's a blue one, okay. Ah! Okay. Cannot break that, confirmed. Okay, just had to check. Okay. Can be fitted into the... Ooh. Okay, where's Ooh. That's kind of sick. I like that. Okay. Also, I saw something over here when I first got here. I kind of want to go back and get it. Not gonna lie. Oh, now you want to freaking work? I forgot you had to press it. That's you right there. I can come back up here, right? How was I? Did I even know to come back over here? Or how would I know? What's the actual process of this sheet again? Yeah, I can get that sheet. Oh, I forgot you can freaking swim in the sheet. Oh, there's zombies down here. Ah! Alright, we had to do some backtracking. I don't know why I didn't come this way, but now we are. What the frick is that? That is a fish. Okay. Now we're getting all this shit over here. And hope that we don't die by a freaking big ass alligator. Welcome back, Pickle. I feel like I'm doing kind of good with exploring, you know?
Just know about carp scales, the sparkling, shining scales of the treasure carp. Bring them to me, and I'll reward you handsomely.
Wait, hold on. Say it one more time? Okay. I didn't even hear what you said because I was trying to just understand who the fuck I was talking to. What the fuck? Composition of combat art, floating past skill unlocked. Oh, is it what the skills look like? Oh, sick. What is this? Search on my sin broken into sub pieces. The fragment appears to be the right side. Some fishes give scales. This is where you trade them in. There's a limited amount of scales that you get per playthrough. Does this guy pop up all the time or what? Well, frick, I'm killing that motherfucking fish.
Bring me some scales next time.
Where'd that beach go? Here, we're looking out. Oh, look, I'm a... yeah, I think I'm over here. Right now, fishes are pretty annoying to catch for you. What, until I get some sheep? Watch this video. Freaking talk. Alright, well, I mean, is this going to be the same items each time? Because I'm about to just freaking save it for this. Eventually he will respawn. Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, what is this divine grass? Simulation that fully restores vitality and curse as one. Ooh. Ah, okay. Just save him. Divine grass, biggest bait. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Bring me some scales next time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm freaking definitely saving up. See, good thing I came back over here. I wouldn't have found that sheet. Guys, this is what it feels like to explore. I'm saving 5 of those mochokos. Yeah, really gotta get used to the freaking movement in this game. It's really fucking me up here. Oh, that made sense. God, I wish I could just lightly tap it to make it not so freaking. Beach. God, I am constantly just getting absolutely fooked up, my guy. Like, ow.
Those worthless bastards. Hello?
I'm so freaking mellow, dude. Hello.
Shinobi, if I'm not mistaken. Take the Shinobi axe from the temple and split
Damn,
the
this is some
skulls
good ass
wide open.
voice acting, dude.
Please.
Okay.
Hey, open up! Open up or else I can hear you whispering in there. If you don't surrender peaceably now, you're gonna regret it later. Hey, can you hear me? Hey!
Oh! Ah! I heard you know, to be fair, I did hear the footsteps behind me, but I was so intrigued on what they were talking about. I only give a shit. Now I kinda do. Ah! Beach. Ah! Oh god, that was dumb. I need to stop freaking risking this sheet. Oh. Is that an enemy right there? Oh. I'm freaking tripping.
We burning this temple next, boss? No, leave it. Go on to the next one. But if there's any offerings, we could give them to Lord Juzo. Enough! We don't take from Buddha. How many times
Juzo,
do I have to
that's-
tell you before it sinks into your thick skull? Please, don't get angry.
That's the guy that freaking slapped me, right? In the freaking grains or whatever. Reduces posure taken. Is that posture posure? Is that pronounced that's pronounced posure, right? The T is silent. I feel like it should be pronounced that, right? Are you dead, sir? Okay, I just have to make sure. Oh. What the fuck is this sheet? Ah! Ah! Fuck these stupid ass chickens. Or roosters. Fuck whatever, shut up. Ah! Shut the fuck up, Peach. You guys even chop anything? There's a few important items in this area, so you better look up. Ah! Double attack. Ah! Okay, I'm looking for some important items. Okay. I feel like I'm doing pretty good so far. I'm taking my time, not really rushing sheet. I'm probably still gonna miss a lot of sheet, but I'm getting better. I think. Shut the fuck up. God damn, shut the fuck up, Machoka. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I don't think I like this. I'm not gonna lie, but. I think I think I moved up a little bit. Oh, we didn't trade. Yeah, I moved up a little bit. I kind of wish the aiming was a little better on that. Ooh, what's this? I think this is the thing I wanted to get. Hey, black iron axe can be fed into the post-site to become a wearing. Oh, this is a freaking tool. This axe is used for cutting and working with things with this weight. Oh shit, that's a restriction. Once the favorite weapon of this knows this monkey. What the fuck? There is another tool as well. You probably run past it if you haven't got it yet. You're talking about the fire cannon thing, the barrel. I got that sheet. But next to the frickin' campfire. Firecrackers. Wait. Would it show up in here? I don't think I got one called firecrackers. I can't really show you unless I go back to the sheet. No, I don't think it was called firecrackers. What's it called? I don't fucking know. Can I open any of these? I'll just go over it.
Who are you?
I'm not a thief.
Yeah.
You're the young lords. Oh, thank goodness. Honorable Shinobi, those filthy bandits are after the young lord. They've already climbed the hill and set the estate on fire. It looked as if the young lord had no way to escape.
I beg of you, Shinobi. Please rescue the young lord.
I entrust this to you.
Powerful angelic conquer heals. Dude, there's so many items I have to think about now. Jesus fuck. Poison resistance, okay.
Thank you.
The young lord should still be some honorable Shinobi. May the fortunes of...
So many sheets.
Try not to move. It'll make your wounds worse.
God, that's so. I like how it's muffled. That's sick.
There is a shinobi hunter among the bandits. He's highly skilled. If I don't face him,
I forbid it. You are in no condition.
Damn. Got him. Ain't fighting sheet.
You're the young master.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yes.
hype myself up too much, but
You were
I don't know. I didn't get anything called firecracker. I don't believe.
Wait.
I got a cannon. I don't know if it's the same thing. I'm pretty sure it's a cannon. I forgot.
Attack was perfect. Normally those bandits wouldn't have stood a
I
chance.
probably got it though.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, it had to be you. I hope you die, traitor.
What the frick? What?
You.
Yes.
Let me see what he
What
said.
good are you? You were nowhere to be seen when things went south. Wait, tell me you didn't lead them here yourself. The timing of their attack was perfect. Normally those bandits wouldn't have stood a chance. Yes. Yes, it had to be you. I hope you die, traitor.
How you not gonna give me a chance to say anything, you freaking dumb bitch? Why is everything so loud?
The young honorable...
Can I open this from this side? No. Okay, wait, it's on the firecracker. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I got anything called firecracker. But it was an item near the campfire, so you got it either way. Oh, so, okay, okay. Oh, hey. Freaking shield, not much, okay. Excuse me, what are you doing?
Good sir, are you a looter too? Good sir, you look like a shinobi, I think. Are you looking for something? Well, in any case, I found this place first. So, keep your eyes peeled out there, huh? And, you know, don't let the door hit you on the... Oh, by the way, while I was on my way here, I saw a 3-story pagoda on top of some cliff. It was a fine pagoda. Really fine. I bet there's some kind of treasure kept in there.
What the frick is it?
Gotta be. That's what I think, at least.
Okay.
Hey, good sir. While I was on my way here, I saw... It was... that's...
I used to go to the spawn point. Alright, hold on. What was the spawn point? I'm just kidding. Wait, if I travel, that just does that make stuff respawn? You said save point, not spawn point. Travel respawn stuff. Book. I kinda wish it didn't. That would actually, I feel like it'd make more sense if it that it didn't. But if you just sound interested, yeah. What do you want me to test? This. I know about that, but did they tell me much about this whole sheet right here? The whole level up sheet? I forgot, I don't remember. Confused? What are you confused about? I'm confused if you're confused, because if you're confused and I'm confused, then you're confused and I'm confused. That's skill points? Oh yeah. Okay, I had to get used to all that shit, man. Well, probably just an exhaust dialogue with people. I feel like I did. Go to the temple again. Oh God, I'm about to fight everything again. I feel like I did.
I'm glad you've come, Master Wolf. This power, it's said to be a power of those who have been given the power of repeat. Let me... I don't...
What is that sheet?
Goodbye.
You trying new stuff you got? Yeah, I might as well.
What is it?
Seems to be your battle sense has returned. You're more like a shinobi than before, if only a little. Take this.
Oh. Book of Secrets that details a variety of techniques and grants the ability to learn shinobi style. Within this text are secrets of the arts, such as attack performance in the air, hiding one's body to avoid detection. Such moves. Oh, but there's a skill for that?
What is it?
Oh.
Shinobi techniques. Recorded within are fighting techniques that cannot be performed.
So I'm pretty sure I exhausted this guy's sheet before.
Whether you make use of them or not is up to you. Shinobi.
Well, no, because I talked to him and then I went and did that sheet.
Techniques.
Owning whatever the frick text is. Combat style allows us to menu. Each enemy defeated provides skill experience. Skill points are required once enough experience gained. Blah blah blah. Which can be spent on some skills can also be learned by obtaining items or defeating enemies. Okay. Can I just like kill a whole area and go back to the thing, respawn them all, and just do it again over and over and over again?
So you're back.
Was that a dream? Or was it real?
Whether it was a dream or
Wait, I haven't even finished the area yet.
I have no
I saw my
idea.
freaking tools,
There is
Machaka.
one thing I can tell you. The great Buddha has seen fit to awaken old memories within you. What you felt, what you remembered. That is what it all depends upon.
I'm not sure if what I saw is what truly happened.
That's how it works.
Oh, I got some sheep for you, my guy. Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess it had the word phlegm in it. Wait.
The shinobi prosthetic. Appears you've taken to it quite well. Here, this is for you.
I'm getting arms freaking left and right. Didn't you just give this?
What is it?
It contains ways to bite into your foes with that fang.
Oh, it's different.
In other words, fighting techniques for your
Wait, what?
prosthetic arm.
I see.
I
Yeah, it was
had
different.
thought that prosthetic techniques wouldn't ever be needed again, but it seems I was wrong.
Huh.
No matter what I do, any Buddha I carve is an incarnation of wrath. Thus is the fate of those who owe a deep karmic debt. You'll understand when you try carving one for yourself one day. So, need something?
Need something.
Another time, then. I'll lend you shelter anytime.
If we sit down now, you can see the skills. Okay. Sick. Okay. Okay, let me take off. Okay, there's a lot of sheep. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay. The acquired skills menu has been unlocked in this menu now. New skills can be learned by spending points system. Okay. Boom. Oh, shit. New skills can be acquired by spending points system. New combat styles can be learned through obtaining text-speech style. Yep, there are 3 types of skills. Combat arts, shinobi's, martial arts, and latent skills. Combats must be equipped to be used, but shinobi martial arts and are always in effect upon being acquired. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a lot. Oh, I can't even get a little freaking sneak peek. Boo. Okay, it says. So why is this one too? I mean, I have 3, so I guess. Okay. And can continue with whatever you're doing. You lose XP whenever you die as well. Oh, shit. So if I don't use it, like, kind of right now, I have the chance of losing it. Did I say that right? No reason to save it up? Okay. So this is like a number that's not really gonna go past like a couple every time. It's not gonna be like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. It's gonna be like probably like between 1 to 5 probably every time. And it was 1 to counter enemy starts attacks by stomping down on the enemy's weapon, dealing a large amount of damage to posture. It is impossible to process the speed of a thrust, but not for sure prize. The moment an enemy thrust attack lands, counter stomp on the enemy's sword to render a okay. Makiri countered the most broken skill in the game. Is that a Nick thing? A spinning attack they have some reason one sharp cut combined with force of the spin can strike multiple enemies and deal damage even when guarded. No, it's the best. When starving enemies, similar technique. Left click, right click, by left click. Huh, okay. That allows them to from a forward dashing sword slice. Ooh. After using certain prosthetic tools. Epical. Oh, that's cool. Kind of blocks it out. After using the thing, left click to change size and take a leap forward in front. So, I mean, that's cool, but for the shuriken, I don't even use that as much as I should. Only see only. Oh yeah, makes sense. Duh. Use the gun to launch. Use the gun to launch as one enemy and use that momentum to perform a rolling swing attack or sword attack. Champion is a perfect tool for combining movement and attack in one. That's kind of nice because I could just freaking yeet at someone and slash their face open. Go into new landing to perform a powerful sword attack. That's kind of cool. I kind of want to get that. I kind of want to. I think I kind of want to get this. Okay, when it says 2, that means it costs 2 or what? But then again, on the top right, it says available 2. What does it make any sense? Oh, because it says it's available because I can get it. Never mind. I thought the 2 corresponded to the available. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, I'm getting there. Finally, come with the leap in with the spin and slash an enemy. So this is kind of what I wanted aside from this. But you're saying this is God tier. An enemy's thrust attack lands. Thrust attack. That's. See, now the thing is, there's hella sheet. I'm gonna forget to use all this sheet. I feel like, you know. Hopefully I don't. Let's get this sheet though. Okay, so what? I know what a thrust attack is, but can you like? Is that just like when someone takes like a kind of like a heavy attack? Or a no, thrusting is what, like a freaking like a rapier freaking jab, right? Why did I kind of not remember what a frick a thrust is? But it's really easy to tell what a thrust attack is. Oh. Huh. Okay. You forgot worst case.
You may.
I freaking know I got that sheet. Oh shit! You can just straight up. Oh, that's freaking sick.
In that case, I stand as your opponent.
That's cool as shit. I can just choose what the frick I want to do. That's freaking sick. Damn, you smart. I expect you to forget. Man, I don't forget shit. So we can possess and come with us attack and blah 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 blah. Use Makari counter to perform 3 deaths. Oh, that's for the sheet. Okay, so it is. Alright, so that's pretty freaking easy. I gotta pay attention to the. Okay, wait. So, okay, my question is. Is that icon gonna come up every time I fight, or is that only for the training? It's only for the training. Red attack just means unblockable? Oh. No. The little icon thing above me. I thought that meant I had an opportunity for the thing. Wait, are we talking about the right thing? What am I talking about? Here, let me show you. There was like a little. That thing right above my head. Does that mean I have an opportunity to use my sheet? I mean, obviously it makes sense if it is. Now, I was wondering if that's going to come up on every time I fight someone, or if that's only the training. Am I freaking dumb? Yeah, that's freaking OP. That's freaking broken as shit. Yeah, I gotta make sure I'm not pressing left or right. God, that's freaking OP.
I expected no less of you.
That's freaking overpowered.
Come back whenever you like. If you have techniques to try out.
Dude, that's freaking sick how I can just come back to you whenever I have a new thing. That's freaking cool. Fuck, now I gotta fight all these dumb punks again.
Yeah. Call it someone, huh? It seems like they're pretty interested. That'd be considered a thrusting attack, right? Sir, I want to test some shit. You got a gun? How about this? How about let's not die? Before an node is fully affected and resistance gauge is shown. Okay, that's just like Elden Ring. As soon as full, wolf becomes blah 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 blah. I kind of want to test it in action, but I mean, apparently you don't really want me to. You forgot what thrust attacks are? Frick, am I gonna fight these punks again? I ain't doing that shit. Frick, I might as well rest. Dude, I don't. This. That's so confusing. I'm getting used to it. I feel like this is a very big mistake what I'm doing right now. I probably shouldn't do what I'm doing right now. Frick, we'll just skip to right here. Oh shit, I forgot I unlocked something else. Oh, how'd you die? Oh. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of guys here. Coming for a little dibble dabble, dude. They don't know what's happening. What? Oh, like that sheet, like that sheet. Ha! Oh god. Oh. Okay, I'm still getting used to it. I probably should, you know, try and dodge more. We're getting used to it. Kind of. Oh! Okay, I need to dodge more. The plan was to switch, but that didn't really work out too well. I definitely have some stuff to improve on. I freaking suck. Woo! God damn, homie. What? Freaking pressing right click. What? What? Oh, okay. I have to hold that longer. Definitely not what I had planned for that. Oh, the icon does show up. Okay, so I was right. Okay, I'm freaking learning. I'm getting fooked up here. I'm learning. I have no freaking heals. I'm not talking to your ass again. Oh, so you guys all died? No, you didn't. Okay, I already eavesdropping your ass. Oh, look, my homie died. What am I gonna do? I didn't dodge that. Oh, I'm not dead yet? What? I just saw the freaking. I saw the stars. I'm back, beat. Okay. Let's see here. Can I check my sheet? Oh, I can. Sick. Sure. Okay, I know that. Okay, go. What do you do this again? So wait, I think I might have read this wrong. I thought this meant I can grappling hook an enemy, not like have to be next to a freaking grappling hook point. Is that what I'm thinking of here? What? I don't know what the frick I'm thinking of. Pretty sure it's not what I'm thinking of. Should have read the skill properly. Yeah, I probably should have. Beach. I feel like you should know I'm here. I know you guys do, but I don't. Use the axe. Oh yeah, I got the axe. How do you switch again? That's not it. Okay. So I throw the sheet. Oh, it's an actual. I thought I threw it. Oh, whoops. Oh. Beach. Okay. I thought it said something about throwing. Oh, wrong button. Okay. I'm getting used to it. Okay, hold on 1 second. What's this do again? So this would probably be good for enemies with a lot of freaking health. I'm getting fooked up here. I need to chill a little bit. Oh, I forgot I can swim this game. Should I go check what that is? In a way, I kind of hate how the English. The targeting doesn't automatically kind of go away once I'm like far away or whatever the frick I'm thinking about here. Yeah, I know you can see me, but I'm not like you don't. That's fair. I really have no healing, so I'm kind of freaking screwed here. I probably shouldn't attack you right now, but I kind of want to. I probably shouldn't attack you because I'm probably going to die, and I don't have anything to freaking revive myself, so I'm probably going to die right here. But, you know what? It's for a good cause. Or we can just sit and wait patiently until they lose aggro and then go attack them from behind. It's probably a good idea too. That's probably a good idea too. I didn't even know this guy was this freaking close. Ah, fuck, this guy takes 2. I'm gonna assume that's a boss. What the fuck? I don't like this because I can't. Oh my god, sir. Thank you for dying. Can you freaking give me some heals for God's sake? No? This guy, dude, I'm freaking like risking my sheet right now. That was dumb. No heals? Yeah, it's because my freaking God watch this sheet. No shot, you just know where I'm at. Just from hitting you with that. How? How do you know I'm out from doing that sheet? I was in the freaking bushes, my guy. That's unrealistic as sheet. Those attacks cannot be blocked, but they can be deflected. One up freaking bad. I got a thing for that beach. Also, kind of performing it successfully will deal a great bunch of damage. Alright, do we risk it and stand next to this guy right now? Okay, if I'm gonna fight you, I'm gonna. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm a little scared of you, not gonna lie. Alright. I know I lost sheet, but that was a good cause. I probably should have bought sheet with my gold, but you know what? It's fine. All right, it's fine. Cause I feel like we I feel like that was good. You know, that was thank you, Jesus. That was for good cause. Right one the long way? I'm trying to shoot the door. Oh yeah. I kind of forgot how that unlocked. Yes. Hopefully these guys was aggro. It'd be really awkward if they didn't. What's good now, huh? You can't do shit. Ah! Oh God! Woo! Ah! Ah! Woo! Woo! How do I use this shit again? During movement, use the forward momentum of your landing to perform a powerful sword attack. During grappling hook movement. Bitch, I can sit here all day. Wah! I'll fight you guys again. You wanna freaking tussle my guy, huh? Wanna freaking have a little fight here? Ah! Ah! Oh, my home. Ah! Oh, my button. Ah! Ah! What? Oh, that's bullshit. Yeah, I'd much rather fight you guys the way I was doing before, if you don't mind. Playing as like a total beach run, I don't give a fuck. God, this freaking music makes me feel like I'm playing a freaking horror game, dude. That doesn't exactly mean you know where I'm at, right? Huh. Oh, there's freaking 3 guys here? Bitch. There's just no shot you didn't see that. This guy's dumb as shit. Watch, I'm gonna go right beside him. Oh my god, this guy's freaking. Ah! Ah! I mean, out here stupid. I wonder how to make this. We are. See about chump. Okay, that was. Oh Jesus. Okay, that was a little messy, but I'm getting used to it, kind of. Hell yeah! I need 4 of these and increases my sheet. Currently, the bear has 2. I love how it tells you that she has so good. This game's sick for the little quality life sheets. I still low-key don't understand the grappling hook bullshit. I mean, I understand what it's saying, but I still don't understand. Okay, I want to go up there first, whatever, shut up. Oh, so this place was just locked until I killed him. Ah. Oh, okay. Also, I like this shoe right here. I like to have a little sound effects for that. I don't know why. That pleases me a lot. I mean, I might as well sit on this shoe, right? Allows one to slide into a crouched position while sprinting. Sprinting through an area and slide into cover. Control spin, slide, and sprint by sliding. Huh. I mean... sure. Oh. Okay. Might as well rest for good. I can't wait to start buying sheet, but I mean that kind of corresponds. That kind of corresponds to English. Not dying. Pretty sure he got off me because I was mid-animation, I'd like to say. Wow! Ow! Where did the guy go? What? Weren't you not closer? What? Oh. I don't know if I was towards me or not. Dude, I like how it just stopped, dude. I love that sheet. Just freaking stop midair. Boot that sheet up. Okay, we're just going in now. What kind of movement am I freaking... I don't even know what kind of movement I'm doing. Freaking beats me. Gee. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Just, yeah! That's a lot of archers. I don't want to handle this here. I mean, apparently I'm a god at dodging. We are! Oh God! Confirm you can't shift off the ledge. I guess it's not a thing. Guess what, Marchukers? Oh look, I'm dead. Beach. Fucking firing, bitch. What you think you're doing, huh? What you think you're doing? Hey, what's up, Mr. Tall? How's it going, man? Welcome to the stream, my dude. I'm about... Oh, big guy. I'm about 3 hours in. Just a little fair warning. I fucking suck. I'm getting used to the freaking movement. And she... How the fuck did I get that? Hold on, sir. You might... Let me get this out real quick. Hold on, sir. This is kind of worth it. Alright, here's my true tester. Let's see if we can get this freaking. Alright, what's up, homie? How you doing? You having a good day so far? That's freaking great to hear. Do you mind if I just get you over here? Yeah. Oh, there you go. I don't know about you, but I'd like to try something if you don't mind. Oh, okay, that was a lot more close range, long. Okay. Alright then. Watch this. Ready? Here we go. I don't even know what's going on. Whoa! Wait, I can dodge that? Oh, I died. I'm not dead. Never mind. Oh my god. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm not dead. I'm gonna take a wild guess. I probably can't dodge. Freaking how many steps you gotta do, my guy? See, I'm pressing shift to sprint, but it keeps sending me backwards because I'm like already the animation on that sheet. I should probably heal. What the frick am I doing, my guy? And chasing my death over here. I just used 3 healings in a matter of 5 seconds. I'm still very messy, but I'm freaking learning. I freaking suck though. I'm learning though, kind of, hopefully, a little bit. It's the wrong button, Nick. Nice. Ah! Ah! Oh, sick. You can definitely water. It's gonna be tough. I freaking agree. Dude, there's too many items, bro. I'm already bamboozled. You fucking asshole. Trucker, where the fuck do you think? Okay. I guess I need to be a little quicker. Wasn't aware I was freaking time based on that. Alright. It's not the way that make. Still find it kind of hard to understand exactly what the frick can go on. Can I go on the sheet? Doesn't look like it. Oh, I could probably go on this thing. Duh. God, here we go with this again. If we don't get a thing here soon, I'm gonna use this last one. But I'll freaking chance my life because freaking why not? Have another freaking revive. But yeah, how's it going, Mr. Tall? Or Mr. Ed? How's it, You've been here before, right? You sound really... Yes, you have. Okay, I don't know why, but I low-key forgot you for a second. Hasn't it been a while since you've been here? It has been a very long time. Okay, I was about to say because your name sounds real familiar. It's been freaking 3 years. What game did you join on? Why don't I remember you fully? I mean, I know it's been 3 years and all, but what the frick were you? What was I playing back then? Were you here for my my Mario Maker days? Sorry, I mean, I remember you, but I don't remember, and that makes sense. Yeah, too good. It was 7 days. So what? 7 days to die. I streamed that stream. Oh, well, that looks like fun. We did some base building, electric fence stuff. On 7 days? Huh. My memory's terrible. I don't quite remember that sheet, but I'll take your word for it. I think I'm gonna die. This looks great, by the way. I hope you make a horde base. Oh, we were in frickin' in creative, huh? No, not creative. Wait, were we in creative? Remember that sheet? I think. Oh my god, this looks sick. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to fight you, sir. You are a very big man.
Father. It's you. I'm afraid I made
This
a bit
looks
of a blunder.
sick. This doesn't look as good as on your guys' screen, cause but on my monitor, bro, this sheet looks frickin' sick.
It's too late. Wolf, you must take this.
In the temple key, this key to the temple is attributed to give him a secret was located in the very back of here in the state, very back. Okay. He was defend himself and taking the okay. You picked a hard game this time? Yeah, man, I feel like a lot of hard games since the last time we watched. I just recently beat Elden Ring. That's a pretty fucking hard game, I'll let you say.
This is the key to the secret temple in the estate mansion. You'll find him. The divine heir. Going through the front is not an option. You'll never get past the fire.
Yes, sir. Perhaps the cliff's just outside of here.
Yes. Return to the estate entrance.
Can you mark that?
You look for a side route along the cliffs. Take the back entrance through the cemetery. That's your way in.
Understood.
Wolf, never forget the Iron Code.
Yes.
The Master is absolute. Wolf, protect your Master with your life.
Father.
Fucking rest in peace.
Head to my left and follow the cliff. If I go through the cemetery, there will be a path to the inner estate. Leave it to me, Father.
Damn, that was sick. I mean, rest in peace and all, but I haven't tried Elden Ring. This one is all about parry, not dodging. Yeah, that's I'm getting used to that. It's just taken quite a while. Ah! What? Oh, motherfucker made that. Yeah, but oh. Fuck, maybe I took a freaking shortcut. Is this a shortcut? Oh, hey. I don't quite understand how you don't freaking see me right now, but I'm just gonna take that as a motherfucking. Yeah. Let me in that sheet. me actually.
I bet these big fires totally out of control by now. Yeah. If anyone's
I never quite got out there. Yeah, me either, man. I'm so used. You'll see me jump around a lot. It's because the role on Elden Ring is space, so I'm just. It's an instinct to just suppress space to dodge sheep, but I'm jumping in. I'm getting used to it. I didn't hear one thing you guys said. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna listen to that shit again.
Totally out of control by now. Yeah. If anyone's gonna get out, their only choice is to use this cave. Don't let a single rat escape. Lord Juzo's orders. I know. I don't mind.
Are you sure about that?
I can't stand selfish bastards who leave everyone else behind at the first sign of danger.
You sure about that? Oh, see. Ah. Beach. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, well, I died. No, I'm not dead. Okay, stop targeting, please. Or not. Okay. Oh, no, I'm dead. What am I gonna do? Oh, no. Ah! Oh, look, it's not my boy. Hey! Yeah! Like that freaking dodge, my guy? Watch this. Woo. 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 Hey, oh. Woo. Yeah! Yeah. Okay, that was a little stressful, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have any heals. Huh. That's a very... I like that camera though, it's sick. Oh, I should probably use that. Okay. Damn, this game is freaking stressful, dude. Okay, now I understand what, you know, all this shit is. I don't understand what the memory is, though. I don't think I was taught by it. Dude, I need to spend some motherfucking money. A latent skill that reduces an enemy's ability to perceive those who are in stealth. I'm assuming it's part of what's. Ooh, that is kind of nice. I don't think I really want the freaking. Oh, okay, I can see his one. Okay. I'm assuming that's gonna be like a ultimate because it has like a green thing around it or whatever. Okay, all this shit down here seems to be more for stealth. I feel like increases the damage inflicted with. Suppress sound. That suppresses movement noise by inhibiting an enemy's ability to hear it. What the frick? Oh, I'm freaking getting this because this is just nice. Alright. That's far where to go. Alright. So Ed, what have you been up to, man? What have you been playing the last years? How the fuck? I mean, I guess I understand how you saw me, but then again, I really don't. Okay, can I get a frickin' bow? I want some frickin' range. Mostly working on games. Ooh, so you you coding games and stuff and making silly videos, not playing much? Oh, okay. What are you making silly videos on? Okay, fuck this, man. You're taking too freaking long. Okay, don't get cocky. Yeah, watch out for the freaking fire. Oh, wait, I can block that? Wait. Oh no, I freaking died. Sweet beach. You guys are so freaking dumb. Can I get behind this rock while you see me? Yeah, the music tells me you probably... Okay, you definitely know where I'm at. I'm an old 3D artist. I make animated videos on Unity. Oh shit. Okay, hell yeah. How's that been going for you? Pretty good? I can freaking block that? Yeah, I'm not freaking good samurais. I mean, it still inflicts me with the bleed, but... Fire. Did you really not see me that whole time? Are you freaking kidding me? What's up, homies? Oh. Oh, there's someone. Hey! Who the fuck said hey? We've got a nasty bus coming up, meaning. Uh-oh. Alright, thank you, sir. Oh man, I can't freaking wait to get some ranged weapons. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the way I wanna, because I wanna get everything around here. Ooh, wait. Is there a freaking what's it called in this beach? Oh, it's not deep enough in here. Damn it. You bitch. Oh. Frick this, let me go the other way. God, there's so many frickin' places to go. I don't want to go frickin' first. Okay, wasn't there a frickin' route over here? I am just frickin' tripping. Alright, well, that was a waste of time. Alright.
You've done well to come this far. For a rogue, you are a worthy shinobi.
Can't they see?
My duty is to protect the young lord, Lord Kuro. Lord Ishii would never forgive me should I fail. Let us fight together!
I mean, alright. Parry, man. Holy bonkers. Alright, definitely not good at multi-combat. You got that guy, right? Woo! Nothing frickin' move. Pressing all the wrong buttons. Get rid of these frickin' chumps before the button. This is a very... That beach dead. This man has a lot of stacker. I should probably dodge, you know, maybe use my sheep for that. Nah, I didn't have any revives. Alright then. I'm not very good when it comes to freaking multiple enemies because my brain is bamboozled. Alright, good old restart, I like it. Half of skill experience are... Oh, is that what the 30% is? There is a way to avoid this in rare occasions. Through the unseen aid of gods and Buddha, one may be spared this loss. The chance of receiving unseen aid can be seen in the... Oh! So I automatically get a 30% chance of being revived? Remember how it says you and big enemies are easy in Sekiro? I feel like it is the complete opposite. Alright, Fook. Actually, I'm freaking just looking forward to the freaking range. I need some range in my freaking life. Oh, that is absolute fantastic work, Nick. I don't even know you're freaking here, my guy. No, I'm not here right now. Please leave a message after the beep. I'm not here right now. I hope we shoot your own guy and freaking burn. I'm so used to freaking pressing space. I hit that one well. I gotta practice this sheet more. Oh no, I'm dead. Dude, I'm already dead? I was holding right click. Alright. Alright. Each I was pressing right click. Oh, what's this? Oh, I need that. Hey, you can call him Boof, you can call him Bagel, I call him Bagel. That's my
So, you're awake.
nickname for him. R, yo, sleepy.
Your death is not your fate. Just yet.
God, what the frick is this? Somewhere a pained cough rings out consistently. The man who coughs is just close to his... I need to turn my fan on. Oh yeah. To avoid being consumed by the burning flames. And this item reduces one chance of receiving. Only this item reduces one's chance of receiving. Okay, so that's like pretty much, I need to get rid of that sheet. The more one with the power of the heritage, whatever dies, the more of sickness as and spreads to the world, and is not created by resurrection. It's not caused by resurrection. It can just the chance to occur when their wolf truly dies repeatedly. Okay. The more rot wishes have, the lower the chances of receiving the Aedes. Okay. So pretty much, don't die. Now, is that sheet gonna be stuck on my screen at all times? Am I gonna be able to know how much I have at all times? I'm gonna kind of take a wild guess that she probably just... Never mind, it's not stay there. Okay. So how the fuck do I know how many I'm holding? Just guess. If you keep dying, some of the NPCs become unavailable? Wait, what? If you die too much, you can't continue some quest lines till you heal them? Wait till you heal them. That comes later. The fuck? So don't die, else we play through 3 times? What the fuck? Well, how much is too much? What the fuck? Just never die, Nick? What? What? Don't die at all? Fuck this sheet, hold on. Can I like set up certain scenarios in this speech? Nah, that fucking boy's doing some motherfucking practice right now. Don't worry about it, just play. Nah. I need to practice a little bit. Can I have this beach spawn in more people? I need to practice with more than one enemy.
You may. In that case.
Gee. Well, I mean, that's fucking boring. Can you like fucking do something? Oh yeah, I forgot. This is just attack.
Face me again.
I wish I could like up the difficulty on this sheet. That'd be sick. Let me try this sheet out again. Let's freshen up and everything. Enemy attacks, then attack and perform kills. That should be done this shit all the time. Face me again. Oh, that was a freaking attack? Oh, I'm just sleeping a little bit. Imagine your life just freaking dying. Dodge the shit out of that. Once you realize that this game was level, that's what. Again.
Yes. Splendidly done. Come back.
Oh boy. Alright. Loved it though. How many hours did it take you to complete it? See, what I think I need to start doing is like maybe like if I'm fighting multiple homies, Flash she's smart and just like maybe going for a couple jabs every now and then. Not just like full on go ham like this. That freaking slide is sick. I got to some giant monkey boss and chickened out. Oof. I was told something about what is the biggle? Lady Butterfly or some shit. Someone he's excited for me to fight that beach. I don't know if I am, but see, the thing is, I gotta remember. There's a lot of stuff to remember. See, I was holding right click, but I didn't activate it. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought that was a really good dodge. Apparently it wasn't. Oh, I got it. I didn't even mean to do it though. Forgot to press freaking shift in that sheet. What? Oh! Okay, so who's this Monkey Beach? I did that, lady boss? I didn't even try the monkey. He seemed too much too into it. That would take you a while to get used to it. I bet. Can I activate the summon again? Okay, so maybe this time, like, don't die. You've done harmless for. Let's fight together. All right. I feel like it's smart to go for the small enemies at first, right? Let's hope that's good games. What the fuck? This speech puke on me? This is a very big man. Okay. Oh. Alright then. Not doing too good here. Alright. Not doing too good here. Ah, shit, man. I feel like it's probably best that I fight these guys because how am I gonna get my sheep back, you know? Plus, this is good practice anyways, right? See, another thing is I have to like, I feel like I'm guessing when the frickin' stagger is. Well, sir, I'm holding right click. Ow! This is gonna big fail. Just take one life off these two. My God, I pressed frickin' shift. What? This game's fucking shit. Sir, I pressed right click. What the fuck? Whoa. Excuse me, sir. What? You can change your velocity to go up? I didn't freaking know how to cheat. Alright. I'm getting there. You can just kill the small one. See, that's why I tried the first run, and then when it came down to fighting the big guy, I got freaking slapped in the mouth once freaking second died. The aggro resets eventually. You can also get an easy backstab with the big guy that way. Yeah. There's no real defend, it's all parry. That's good practice though. I need this practice. Fucking, we're going right into this speech. Damn it. This is good practice. I've already died like 4 times from these guys, so. Good practice.
Oh, I pressed the wrong button, guys. I'm getting slapped over here by just regular guys. Son of a bitch. I was trying to time freaking shooting arrow. What the fuck? I don't remember all those buttons for the fights. Alright, frick those dumb guys up there. What the fuck? You know what sucks about this mini boss? So the presses that boss that comes after? The frick is on after? Down the roof? Oh yeah.
Done well, Michael.
Press the wrong button. I am pressing every single wrong button. Oh god, I pressed the wrong button. Ah! How the frick am I gonna survive this? You're still alive? Really hoping you wouldn't. Man, this combat's hard to get used to, man. I'm gonna be honest. Where's the healing grenade? Frick, I don't know, man. Somewhere. Kill some people, ignore the big guy. Fuck, man. I thought I was trying to get a what's it called? I'm probably gonna have problems just fighting this freaking big guy alone. That's not trying hard. I mean, I know I suck because I'm freaking new to this shit, but god damn, homie. As soon as you just run to the one guy and ask for help. Oh, that's not a freaking bad idea. Well, then again, I use him as a distraction, guys. Yeah, I can freaking quick to avoid this fat beach. Okay, let's try and run around and do some shit here. I got some plans. Not really time based, right? I can just sit here and chill. No, I still ain't got no heal. Oh, that's the wrong button. Nick. That is the wrong button. Okay. We're getting there. Give me a second, guys. We're getting there. Just coming in for jabs, dude. I like it. I like it, dude. Just coming in for some jabs every now and then. It's like if you no, watch this. We're running around. This is the strat here. This is the strat. This is the strat here. This is the strat, man. You don't know what's going on, man. I'm running too quick. Get your ass ready. No. This is a freaking strat, my guy. What? Oh. Oh. button again, man. Whenever oh, we're getting better. See, that was a good strategy. You guys like that sheet? I feel like that was good. You can sneak around and backstab like every enemy instead of running through the middle. What is fun in that? Let the boy learn. It's not easy if you don't run through the middle though, because everyone's just trying to. Oh, what if I like the challenge? I'm just kidding. Why would you bring him to him? Well, I wasn't aware if he got attacked, you would attack him, but alright, now I know. Keep on no matter how big the enemy, unless it gets original, you compare that sheet. Oh, I forgot the red sheet is not. I keep thinking the red sheet is for my what's it called? For my deflect thing, but it's not. What the frick did you see me? Put me up, Chief. I'm over there. Yeah, would you guys be interested in like following me all this way or no? Probably not, right? That's not useful. Oh yeah, that's what this. I totally forgot about this frickin' way. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're learning. Just give me 10,000 hours. I kind of forgot this is a frickin' route. It's probably for a good reason too. Yeah, I'm sure if I kill this guy, the other homies will just be like, "Oh, what's that noise?" I'm trying my strategy again. Ah! Oh, come on, my guy. I like the strategy of getting the small guys in the corner. Only problem with that is I fucking get slapped. Guess we're using on that guy. That's the wrong button. That pressing the wrong button. Okay. Isn't there two shield guys? Oh yeah, okay, we got one. God damn, this freaking movement. Ah! I beat you. I need your assistance, my guy. Thank you very much. Man, this guy has a lot of freaking what's it called? Also, how am I supposed to get a thing on him? This is I press space. That was coming too. Oh God. I feel like it's not possible for me to. New thing, English, yeah, that. So it's like I don't know if it's worth trying. That's
the only button. I ain't got no healing, my guy. Sir, it'd be nice if you wouldn't just frickin' sit there and watch, you know, maybe get, like, you know, help a frickin' homie out. We greatly appreciate it. There you go. I want to hold shit the whole time, but I'm just like freaking skirting everywhere. I would like to have that. Thank you very much. Seven deaths later, I didn't. How many times did I die throughout the whole session? Probably like 4 times. I'm gonna add in 4 deaths. What the fuck is this? Sky Sacred which is full of one of the hands game to jump so quickly. What the fuck does that help me out? Okay. Oh, sick. We need one more question. I was freaking hard. Okay, so like, I mean, to be fair, I really didn't know. Hey, my boy Ed, thank you for the 500 frickin' biddies, my guy. You're a frickin' legend. Thank you, sir. Absolute god, thank you, sir. I got frickin' slapped. Is that your death counter? I look forward to that reaching the hundreds. Beach, that she's reaching the thousands. I don't know if I got the number right. I feel like I died more there. You guys should have been paying attention. What the frick's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. Thank you very much for the frickin' biddies, man. You're a legend. No problem, man. See you later. Alright, man. Thanks for, it was nice chatting with you again, my dude. I hope you have a fantastic night. What the fuck happened here? Wait, what is it? Oh. It's fucking making hella noise. Yeah, why not? Love that. Ah! Oh no, my homie died. Ah! Oh, I should have used the oil too. I have so much shit I'm not using, man. What the fuck? It's too many damn items. Honey, this is pretty optimistic considering we're gonna do both endings. Stand on the one wall? Like the wall, I mean? Wait, what? I have to worry about doing that? What the fuck? Okay, that's too much. Is it only that one colored sheet? Oh, that's too freaking much, my guy. Wait, define confetti. What the frick is that? I've gotten that shit before? Oh. Maybe? Oh boy. Alright. Well, I'm probably gonna miss those. Just a little heads up. But I mean, I'll try. But there's a very big possibility I'm gonna freaking miss that sheet. That is not it. Is that a freaking chest that I just... That's the first chest I've opened. Give me something good, baby. Ooh. Ooh. That is something I freaking want. Are you sure it's on here?
Can I just like go across the sheet and it'll just activate? I'm gonna try that sheet. Hold on. Ah, okay, so I can just frickin' hug the whole wall. Oh, this is actually a secret spot. I knew that. Heck, see that beach just frickin' fall over? That frickin' can open that. I'm gonna start hugging all the walls now. I should probably do this before I do anything else. Oh, I can upgrade my sheet. Oh, I gotta go back though, huh? Wait, who does that again? That's that one chick, right? 20 skill points? Thank you, sir. I almost forgot. Okay, what was I looking into? If I searched something about... Yeah, this one. Actually, wait, what's over here? Okay, I'm not a huge fan of that one. Increases the healing. Ooh! However, no, this one doesn't make the medicine take. Oh! Increases the healing effects of recover items. This is just any recover item? Ooh! First HP upgrade. Hell yeah! I kind of want to get this. Oh god, do we risk it though? Knowing how much I freaking suck? Nah, let's wait for that. Leap over a behind a poser broken enemy. What over jump out of it. I feel like I'm gonna forget these sheets. Suppresses movement noise. So what, just makes my movement quiet all the time? Increases the damage inflicted by pusher. I think I'm going with this one. I'm going with this one. That's cheap. Now how do you do this cheat again? Should I be as OP as food? Yeah, but I don't even use the counter that much. That's the problem. I mean, eventually we're gonna get it anyway, so it's, you know. Never mind, I got it. Loose player base together increases yeah. Physical obstruction enhanced maximum vitality and posture has increased. Hell yeah. 36 more to go. Love that sheet. Oh boy. Alright. Okay, what the frick is happening over here? Are you okay? Someone think you're impressed?
A dreadful vision. It was pouring out more and more. It wouldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. The young master. The young master is deep in the mansion. My son, Inosuke, went to rescue him. So he's probably fine. But you never know. The young master might need you, Rogue Shinobi. Go to him, will you?
Will you? I will.
Horrible, the young master Roshi.
You said I was missing some sheet. Did I already pass it out? Do you know that lady? Yeah. This is my anything important? Okay. Oh, you said something about missing some sheep. Did I rest in that beach? Beach I had not. In what? In 1 second, sir. Thank you very much. Who's the lady?
The young master is Roshan.
What do you mean, who's the lady? The name? I don't fucking know. What? See nowhere? Oh! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. About that, I was lying.
You, the young masters. I wouldn't go in there if I were you. Dreadful illusion techniques. Without a snap seed, it cannot be overcome. Take this.
Fuck is a snap seed?
Much, but it's what I have.
Snap seed. A few more seeds that make a loud noise if you snap them, useful for breaking the effect of illusion techniques. Oh god. If illusion occurs, it is because someone created it to crush the illusion and return to reality. Snap seeds can be a great help in that regard. Illusion effects or techniques? What? That's more shit I gotta freaking worry about. Alright. Hey. All the items. This guy, we don't really need snapshots. Yes, yeah, it only gives you one. Oh, God. Oh, I can move that? Oh. I thought I was about to fight this beat. Good luck, brother. Nick lost as always. What do you mean? Holy shit, that looks good.
Father? Mother? The butterflies.
Oh, this is the chick. The little girl.
My lord. Illusion technique.
Beats get louder than that. That wasn't even loud. What?
Son of Owl.
I need butterfly.
Oh,
Leave us.
oh shit, it's her. Oh shit.
Do what must be done.
Yes.
No, it's a chick from the sheet. Wait, it's the some sheet, yeah. Just freaking start the game. I don't fucking remember who the fuck she is. What's his name? Dude, look, you know I'm not good with names, my guy. Come on. I can barely remember the name of the freaking statue. What is that? Buddha? Some sheet? I think I got that right. Fuck if I remember the name of that freaking guy on the sheet. Oh boy. The lower ones retire, the slower their motion gauge this color gets redder as recovery is slow. Retaliate damage techniques such as dodging counterattacks are ideal against enemies in effect. Vitality damaging techniques such as dodge counters are ideal against enemies with fast flash recovery. Once enemies freaking nice sheet. What's up, Peach? Okay. Oh, it's like Melina. Oh boy. God damn. Every enemy just fucking slaps you, my guy. Ow. Ah! Oh shit, I gotta keep attacking. I gotta keep attacking her. I'm dumb. I need to. Dude, every attack, just like I'm freaking dead. One attack, dude. Oh shit. Every attack does like 7,000 damage. You tell me I got to learn how to dodge. Dude, every attack does like 9,000 damage. Ow. God damn, she just freaking constantly does she. That's the wrong motherfucking button. God damn. Fuck giving you a chance to doing shit. Oh god, that's the wrong button. I was trying to go back and heal and then oh. Okay. Oh shit. Forgot. Shit. For this beach. Ah! I press space to dodge him. Ow! Oh, Jesus. Well, you could just freaking... Ooh! If I want to regen, then she regens. So it's like I can't regen my posture because then she's gonna regen her posture, and then I'm gonna get fucked up. Shit, I didn't dodge that. Shit! That was good though. Oh shit! I forgot I have sheep. Oh, I thought I could freaking do the sheep. I thought I could do the thing with the sheep. Throw a shuriken with that hoe when she's on top. Oh, sheep. That was good though.
Listen.
You constantly just gotta be on her. Ow. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh. slap is what's happening. Oh god, dude, I'm pressing every single. What? Ah! Oh, we traded a little bit. It was not worth it though. God, that's the wrong. Oh my god, that's the wrong button. I pressed space and dodge again. I definitely don't think this is the round getting flipped here. Nice attacks, Nick. Nice attacks, Nick. Okay. I fucking suck. That's the wrong button, Nick. What the fuck are you doing? Ooh. Woo. Ah. We're getting there. Oh, hello. Enemy Sleep, in my opinion, best combat of the Souls games. Damn. It is much more complex. God, I keep missing freaking huge from my shit. Damn it, man! I almost tried it. Dude, I'm freaking panicking real hard. I don't know what the fuck's going on. This freaking wrong button. This chucky my sheet notes. Didn't I have 2 freaking sheets when I started this? No? Okay. So about that money that we don't have anymore. It's kind of out of the equation now. I keep fat fingering shit I don't want to press. It's really freaking me out. Damn it. See. God, I need to regen my sheet, but freaking your sheet's just gonna freaking regen. Ah! I didn't press the right button. I'm getting fooked over here. This is good practice for combat though. Just kind of understanding everything. Press the wrong button again. Press the wrong button again. This is a good practice. At this point now, it's just practice because I've already lost on my sheet. Dude, I kicked your ass at the start. What's up? Frick, maybe I should have gotten the frickin' ability thing. God damn, I keep pressing Q to frickin' throw. Ah! I knew it was coming too. I pressed the wrong button. Definitely not choosing the really good moments to heal. Oh, shit. I knew that attack was coming too. But I didn't do anything about it apparently. I'm probably going to stream here in a little bit. I'll be lurking. Alright, man. Well, have a good stream, my homie. Thanks for stopping by and all the tips and stuff. So why is it sometimes you get... What's it called by that? Sometimes you don't. Damn it, I pressed the wrong button. Damn it, I pressed the wrong button again. That's freaking new. God. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, I totally dodged that sheet. Dude, I pressed right click. I feel like I have to just spam it sometimes because that shit won't activate. That's... Dude. No, but like for real though, there's no point in even finishing this. Bad time to go. The question is, what is a good time to go? Okay, well I've already wasted all my sheet, so let's run some freaking red. Ah! Oh, I got it. Trying to go for it. Just trying to go for it. Ah! Damn it, she got it. Damn it, she got it. I freaking pressed shift. I freaking suck so I spent 4 hours getting that. How much did I like 1,500? Yeah, frick you, Beach. Damn it, she got it. Damn it, I couldn't get it off. Damn it. Son of a beach. Oh, I thought it was striking, like smacking the shit out of you. Oh. See, if I would have went for a heal there, she would have regen all her sheet, and then it would have been pointless. Some photos contain the multiple memories, so they consider the option to explore us around. Man, fuck you, game. I've got this beach. I just gotta get this pressing that sheet when she moves her sheet. Oh, shit, I pressed it too late. Oh, God, I couldn't press it fast enough. Go for fucking heal. She's gonna regen all her fucking stupid shit. Ow! Ow! Okay. Ow. Yeah, that was actually some kind of dodge. Possibly. Oh no shot, you got that off. Press the wrong button again. I didn't dodge that. Oh wow, my excuse there was I was mid-animation. Maybe I should have invested in some of those abilities that I said were garbage. Might have helped a little bit here, maybe. Keep doing that. Oh, I didn't dodge that? Oh. Nope. Wait, I have to fuck. Wait, do I? Wait, I forgot. I gotta do this shit again? Wait, are you for real now? Oh, I didn't touch that. Okay. I don't really know if I appreciate that very much. Oh god. Oh shit, I didn't dodge that. Wait, you have two faces too now? We thought that was done. My team needs to remove Death Card no longer. Wow. It isn't? Oh yeah, I think I'm off by like 2 or 3. Cause what happened? Oh yeah, I was doing Big Boss speech before this one. Fucking shit. I gotta watch my sheet back and update it probably. Bro, I have to do this speech twice? I can barely handle it once. Also, so delayed on that attack, but that works. I don't know why I didn't attack right there. Damn it! Oh, I blocked the wrong noise. Ow! Why I decided not to attack right there? Very good. What? Why didn't I attack right there? What? Get hit by. What the fuck? Bitch. Oh! Fuck on my shit. Alright, round 2, baby. Food. Food. Bro, how the fuck am I gonna fight this? You expect me to have the reaction time for that? Bro, you expect me to have the reaction time for that? Holy shit! Hey, what's up, Eli? I'm freaking getting slapped over here. Bro, freaking Bagel, this speech has 2 phases? What the fuck? I can barely handle one. Only 2? There's freaking 3? Before script. Dude, this fight's gonna take 7 years. Oh. You know what would be useful? Items. Why not attack you right there? Dude, I fucking pressed that shit. I swear to fucking someone. Nice attack, Nick. What the frick? This Smudgehog is just freaking. Ah! Oh boy. Just jump over his head. I'm trying everything I motherfucking can. Ah! Ow. I see why you want me to fight this chick so bad. I'm just happy there's no freaking stay on the bar. That's one thing I'm freaking. Press. Oh my god, what the frick is happening? Hello? Okay. Dude, I'm always too late whenever it comes to that tag. Okay, if we can keep this combo doing, this is easy to dodge as I miss it. Ooh. Whoa. I didn't dodge that one? Huh, that's not. Fucking stupid. Oh. Ow. Oh, I have to restart. I'm throwing oil at this beach. I'm chucking oil sometime in this fight. Charging your sheet up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's literally attack. Ooh, almost started full attack. Wow. Fantastic dodging, Nick. Wow, nice dodging, Nick. What the frick is happening? Bitch, I pressed frickin' terrible, Chucker. What the fuck? Oh, I thought I dodged it for once. Why you gotta have that one in there? Why can't you have the one when you go on the zipline sheet, huh? Why you gotta have that quick one, huh? I can never dodge that one. What the fuck? Wait, did I own for that? I don't think I did. Oh, I see it didn't even work. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wish we can keep with that combo, dude. That's freaking easy. Oh, look, I dodged it. Well, I didn't even press shift back there. Oh, dude, it's this thing called getting up. Do you mind doing that sheet or? Yeah, let's just sit here and let her attack. That seems like a fucking great idea. Well, I ain't got no heels, so look for. I'm throwing out the speech. What if it's a technique I'm doing that where I don't have to fire once and I'm just dumb? It's probably a thing. Beach. What if I'm supposed to? What if I'm supposed to fight these motherfuckers? Shot. I have to worry about targeting on these motherfuckers as well. Oh, that's what spawns in those? You like sacrifice your homies to... Yeah, let's let her attack Nick. Fuck, great idea, my guy. God, why am I just letting her do damage to me, my guy? Woo! Yeah, let's freaking best for them. Let's. Oh, shit, my guy. Ow. Guess we don't call one real boss to stream. Beach. What's there's no freaking definition of motherfucking real boss beach. We killed another motherfucker on later. What the fuck? Ow.
Horrible.
You killed 2 small boys, I guess? Yeah, 2 small boys counts as 1 easy money. I really need to use my items, man. That would help me out so much, but there's so much going on, bro. I can't freaking change that sheet. Should probably take this off because I didn't use that. Here, let's set up for next stream. What does she do again? She does what? Physical damage. You don't have one for physical damage in speech. That beach, bro, if she has 3 up. Ow. Okay, so maybe when she spawns in all her sheets, freaking don't even attack her. Just let her something. I like how there's two ways of killing her though. You can play like slow and just kill her with health, or you can play the quick game and kill her with the stagger sheet or what the frick is she called? Okay. Alright, I'm gonna freaking dip. I feel like we did good today. We got slapped because that's just because we freaking suck. I'm gonna have to watch my VOD back and maybe update my deaths more because I think I lost like 3 or 4. Because I kind of totally forgot I was doing a death counter. Anyways, I believe that's it. We're gonna wrap it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout out to everybody who joined today. Mr. Bagel Sir, Eli. We had freaking Slasher. We had Chase up in this beach. We had Mr. Ed, right?